Stacklebeck here. Today on the newscast, Israel shoots down a drone. Was it Hezbollah? Plus, more major airstrikes in Syria. Get all the breaking details coming up. Hey folks, Eric Stacklebeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. We wanted to bring you one last update before we head into the weekend. As we tell you often here on the show, the Middle East never sleeps, and Friday, January 22nd has been no exception. Number one, Israel shoots down a drone that crosses into its territory, and number two, more major airstrikes in Syria. Folks, the Middle East is a tinderbox right now, and we want to be your go-to source for all of the latest information coming out of the world's most pivotal and chaotic region. The Middle East, again, never sleeps, and what happens there does not stay there. So be sure to subscribe to the Watchman Newscast and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Breaking update for you, as I mentioned at the top, Israel, overnight, Friday, January 22nd, released a statement. Actually, early this morning, I received it in the United States. Israel's obviously 7 hours ahead of us here on the east coast of the U.S. The IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, announced that they shot down a drone that crossed from Lebanon along Israel's northern border into Israeli territory. Now, no one was hurt, and the IDF says that they tracked the flight path of this drone as it crossed from Lebanese territory into Israel. The drone, we don't know if it was packed with explosives, God forbid, if it was a surveillance drone. The details are scant right now. Here is why it is so significant. Number one, southern Lebanon, where the drone emanated from, is Hezbollah country, folks. That is Hezbollah's stronghold. That is where they live and breathe. And we've had several incidents over the past several months. I think back to November 2020, when the Israel Defense Forces shot down a Hezbollah drone that, yes, crossed from Lebanese territory into Israel. Now, this drone today that was shot down by the IDF, no terror organization, Hezbollah, no one has claimed responsibility. No one has said, hey, this was our drone. And the IDF is not providing much details as of yet, or many details as of yet, as to what the source was or who the source was. To my mind, and if I'm betting money on it, if I was a betting man, I would say that this is likely a Hezbollah drone. Obviously, the November drone shot down, as I mentioned. Also last month, December 2020, Hezbollah released footage on Al-Manar TV, which is Hezbollah's official television station. Yes, the world's most dangerous terrorist organization, Iran's most lethal proxy, has their own television network, Al-Manar TV. They released video that they say was taken by a Hezbollah drone back in October. Video of two Israeli military bases along that northern border, the border between Israel and Lebanon. So there is a track record here of Hezbollah attempting to infiltrate northern Israel with drones. So I suspect the drone that was shot down today was most likely a Hezbollah drone. Again, was it packed with explosives? Was it a surveillance drone? Or was it just a probing type situation where Hezbollah was kind of testing the waters and probing? Obviously, tensions are very high right now. If you've been watching the Watchman Newscast over the past several months, you know that the region is, hey, a tinderbox. Any false move could set things off in a major way, like, for instance, I don't know, flying a drone into Israeli territory if you were Hezbollah. A very reckless move, to say the least, considering how tense the region is right now. And when we're talking drones, we've been discussing again during the newscast, you can check it out in our archives, that the Iranian regime has been looking to supply its proxies, like Hezbollah, like Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza, like the Houthis in Yemen, like those radical Shia militias in Iraq. Iran has been trying to supply all of them with attack drones. So who knows if this was Iranian supplied hardware that Hezbollah if it was Hezbollah today, which I assume it was, since this drone came out of southern Lebanon, the Hezbollah stronghold, is this Iran kind of nudging its proxy Hezbollah and saying, hey, fly a drone there, let's see what happens, because we are probing. And ultimately, we know Iran's ultimate goal and the goals of its proxies to encircle Israel on all sides and squeeze it like a vise. So that's what Iran's trying to do. We know that Israel has moved, for instance, an Iron Dome missile defense battery to southern Israel, to the southernmost city of Eilat, to ward off a potential attack coming from Yemen, from the Houthi rebels, the Iran-backed Houthi rebels. And again, one of the aspects, or one of the threats that Israel and U.S. forces in the region are very concerned about are drones and attack drones. Iran just carried out about 2 weeks ago a major drone drill, their first ever, showcasing domestically, Iranian-made, attack drones, hundreds of them. So this is not a coincidence. Drone warfare. It's a major factor in general right now, but it will continue to be, folks, as the future of warfare and what we're seeing on the battlefield continues to evolve. Drones are a major, major part of that. So that's our first news item. Before we head out, I wanted to mention real quick, though, number two, yes, I said that there were more major airstrikes in Syria overnight. Israel has not claimed responsibility, but as we've documented for you on a regular basis here on the newscast, Israel has carried out hundreds, if not thousands, of airstrikes against Iranian and Iranian-backed targets in Syria over the past few years. We had one once again overnight in the Syrian city of Hama in northwestern Syria. Some targets were struck overnight. Details are kind of scant. It was a relatively major strike, it seems, and it comes on the heels, remember, of that massive strike that we reported on here on the newscast about a week and a half ago in eastern Syria. We assume it was the IDF along the Syria-Iraq border, struck several Iranian military targets, missile factories apparently. Some 57 Iran-backed fighters were reportedly killed in that strike. That was major. That was one of the biggest that we've seen over the past few years. And the strike overnight, last night, January 22nd, is the fifth such strike in the past month alone inside Syria. So again, not to be redundant, but things are heating up. One last thing to mention, I should have mentioned, about this drone incursion out of Lebanon. Remember, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, has been threatening revenge over some almost 7 months later, over the death of that Hezbollah fighter back on July 20th, 2020. We talked about this here in the newscast. A Hezbollah fighter was killed in Syria in an Israeli airstrike, and Hezbollah has never, quote-unquote, avenged him. And Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, has been making noise for several months now about doing just that. We've had several incidents since July along that Israel-Lebanon border. This drone incursion was just the latest, but Hezbollah has been probing. Some Hezbollah fighters attempted to breach the security fence and enter northern Israel a few months ago. So we've had incidents there. So keep that, folks, in the back of your head. When you see an incident like we saw today, that's the first thing I thought of. An incident like we saw with the drone, remember, that's an open-ended threat, I guess you would say, by Nasrallah of revenge for the death of that Hezbollah fighter back in July. They feel they have not avenged him sufficiently yet. So that continues. And of course, the threats from Iran over the deaths of Qasem Soleimani and Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Soleimani, of course, the terror kingpin who was taken out in a U.S. drone strike last year, and Fakhrizadeh, the father of Iran's nuclear weapons program, taken out in late November outside of Tehran. Iran is pointing the finger at Israel for that. Israel has not claimed responsibility. I say all that to say things are very interesting and very dangerous right now in the Middle East, in particular with a new U.S. administration coming into office. These airstrikes in Syria overnight were the first since Joe Biden is taking office here in the U.S. Keep that in mind, folks. Israel had a complete green light in Syria under President Trump. Will a Biden administration have a different take on it? For Israel, the ability to strike and maneuver in Syria is crucial because the Iranian regime and its various proxies like Hezbollah are determined to set up shop in Syria permanently at Israel's doorstep as part of the ultimate goal to encircle Israel on all sides and bombard it with thousands of rockets and missiles. A terrible nightmare scenario, I know, and not the way I want to leave you as we head into the weekend. So, remember, God still sits on the throne. He sees these evil forces led by the Iranian regime plotting and planning, and he quite literally laughs at it. The God of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. So
Whoa. First off, the real creator, our creator of the children of the light, because y'all fight against the light for the ones who hate the light, and y'all serve that Mr. J because y'all hate the light, because y'all serve that devil, and they call him a different name, but it's still saying the Mr. J. All religions call the same different names, but it's still the Mr. J. Still serving the same ugly ass son of the devil. So what the Bible say about what I'm saying right now? What the Bible says, let's see what the Bible says about us and them. The Bible says about us, I know ye who are poor but are rich. Why are we poor and rich? Because we are the real children. And we have not had our salvation yet. In other words, we ain't free yet. Nobody is now really, but but we gonna be real soon. So that's why it says that. But we rich, why? Because we are the children of the Creator. We are the children of the light. Okay? So what does it say about them? I know ye who are rich, but are poor. Why are they rich? They got everything because they lied and claimed they us, and they, did a whole lot of shit. And they call themselves the Jews, but they not the real children of the light. They not the chosen people, and people are been bamboozled and tricked by them. What else the book say? The King James Version Bible say. Why it say they poor? Even though they got all the money and shit, and they control the world. Well, because they ain't dealing with the Creator. They know not who they serve. And we all know who they serve. The devil. Alright? Like many people, unfortunately. And then it says about them what? But ye, I will make into liars. How's he gonna do that? You say ye are Jews, which the J was a hijack, so it would say you say you are a chosen people, right? But ye are not. Well, the Bible says the Jews, the chosen people are black. Doesn't it say black unto the ground? Boom. King James Version Bible says that. King Saul was black, right? Boom. King David was black, right? Boom. They were chosen people, right? Boom. Okay, so stop playing games. Stop the bullshit. I don't know how y'all brought that bullshit lie. Y'all know it's a lie. Many of you have to know it's a lie. Stop going with the lie and stop revealing the truth like many others. Okay, so let's hop to it, right? Then what does it say? Because we'll make them to liars, right? And he says, but ye are not. You're not chosen people. And then he says, but ye are the synagogue. Synagogue of who, y'all? It said, but ye are the synagogue of Satan. Satan is the devil. You're the synagogue of the devil. There you go. So stop playing games. Peace and love. All praise the Creator and nobody else.